Welcome back, YouTube listeners, to part 2 of the silent genocide. Let's listen to the second half of the debate between Willis, James, and Justyn.
Okay, never mind. Okay, listen. Listen, boys. Look, like sometimes women need to abort. Okay, it's the only option. Banning abortionists puts women at risk at forcing them to use illegal abortionists. Okay. Do you want if you ban abortion, do you want women to go to dangerous method? It doesn't matter. It's going to happen no matter what. People are always going to seek abortions. It doesn't matter. They're going to go to some legal Bob Ho guy down the street and get them to abort their baby.
So what you're saying?
They could die. They could be affection. It's terrible. And you want them to go to jail for having an abortion?
So what you're saying is, people having abortions could have difficulties if they go to, or could even die if they go to an underground doctor or bachelor doctor.
They could die. The baby could die. Why do you think
now
that's
you call it a baby
I
before you're calling it a fetus.
I feel sorry for the baby.
Oh wait. Okay.
No, it's fine. Just leave it.
No, the mother could die, and also she could go to jail. But it's
The mother could die. I mean, good. Quite frankly, that's what we do with murderers. That's what we do with murderers. We put them in an electric chair and we kill them.
Not Canada, first of all. That is inaccurate.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, do you think that just because something is law, does that make it right? Because slavery was not against the law at one point. It was completely legal to own a slave. And then they realized, hold on, this is horrible. This is unjust. And then they made a law to not have slaves.
No, that's a good
so now
point.
you're saying just because it's in law, that means that I'm allowed to do it.
You're talking over me. Stop it.
I was talking since the beginning.
Listen to me.
Okay, continue. Go on.
Thank you. Okay, look, obviously, legalism doesn't actually equate moralism. We know that. We all know that. Okay? Every one of us knows that. Slavery was legal. Look, that's not what I'm arguing here, okay? If you make it illegal, the abortions will still continue, probably at the same rate. They're going to take at the same rate. They're just going to be much more dangerous. Much more people are going to die. Much more mothers are going to be going to prison just for wanting a better life. Why are you guys okay with that?
Okay, I'll say this. Should murder be illegal? Because we can say we should make it a law that murder is illegal. If we say murder should be legal, but you'll say that people still kill each other, obviously people are still going to kill each other whether it's legal or not. But if we make it illegal, we're doing that because it's murder, and murder is immoral. That's why we're making that argument.
But the rates will still be the same.
Because murder... What? No, I don't... Actually, there's no proof of that. I don't think that's true. I think people will have to go out of their way to try to find one of these people. In America and Canada, too. There are organizations where they can go... Don't cut me off, Willis. There are organizations where these people can go to...
Yeah, only I can cut him off, Willis.
Yes. Where people will go... Drive down the street, find the place that will do the abortion for them, go there and kill the child. If it's illegal, now they're going to have to go out of their way. It's going to be on their mind a lot more. Plus, if abortion is illegal, I personally think that it will bring more personal responsibility to the woman. Personal responsibility to not kill the child, and personal responsibility to think before she has sex when she doesn't want to have the child.
So, the definition
of murder...
Sex
rates, we've tried controlling sex rates. It doesn't work. People are going to have sex no matter what.
Clearly, yes.
Well,
and they're going to have babies no matter what.
No, actually, no.
And they're going to want to...
Actually, no. If you go back 60 years ago, were people having sex as rapidly as they are now? Were they really?
Probably.
No, they weren't. Well, it was a conservative society. People had responsibility. They didn't go around having sex and reproducing like rabbits.
I don't think you can substantiate that.
I definitely can substantiate that. Ask your grandmother.
But...
Yeah, he knows her grandmother, Willis.
I know your grandmother. I know this.
She makes wonderful sweet tea.
The society was very Christian. It was very conservative. The idea of two people having promiscuous sex was frowned upon.
You're talking about the time when women were greatly oppressed and seen as much less than men and didn't have the same rights. Yeah, I remember.
Well, the point is today is a liberal society. The liberals have somehow managed
women have rights.
The liberals have somehow managed to convince people that you can just eschew responsibility and that's okay. And here's the thing, you can't.
Okay, all right, let's move on.
Hey, Willis, there is actually something that I want to tell you. You probably think I'm pro-life, right? I am pro-life, but I'm also pro-choice. 4 choices I'm going to give you: abstinence, parenting, adoption, and contraceptive. Those are 4 choices. I'm not saying I'm forcing you. You can do one of those 4. I'm not adding a 5th choice of killing a child.
But what if they make a look? If lots of people have sex, if a
Yes.
kid, if a stupid dumb kid makes a mistake and has sex, and now he's gonna be punished with a child.
Well, first of all, I don't think of it as punishment. I think of childbirth as a miracle from God. But
Not
I also
when they
think
can't afford it. Not when they're too poor to afford it.
You know,
there is something.
you're right. I do agree with
There
you.
is this new thing now that I've heard of. Is this word? Oh yeah, it's called responsibility. It's this new thing.
Children, I do agree with you. Children are not a gift from God; they're a gift from the devil, and I absolutely agree with you. They're devil's
That's a
curse to
straw
women.
man. You're straw manning my argument. When you're too poor, look. What about this? Okay.
So now you're saying
let's
that
see what
human life is based on how much money you have. So poor people should be able to kill their child. Where if you have more money, then you can't kill your child. So now you're saying you've shifted the argument now to income.
I'm saying
now if you have
sometimes-
lower income and you can't afford to have a child, or not that you can't afford it, but it'll be harder now just because it's difficult. Now
If the
you can
state-
kill it because it'll be difficult and hard to have.
If the state of your environment is terrible, okay, guys, listen. Like, if the state of your environment is terrible, be it abuse, be it abuse of people around you, be it your financial state is poor. If you had that kid, both of you going to suffer. The mother's going to suffer terribly. The child is going to suffer terribly. Do you want that to happen?
I don't want that to happen. That's horrible that she has to go through that. But that's better than killing a human.
I actually feel
I
sorry.
don't think so. It's not. First of all, it's not a human. It's a fetus.
Well, we've already discussed that it's actually
Fetus is
technically
Latin
human.
for a young person.
But it's not.
It has human DNA, therefore it is a human.
Okay, look, sometimes ugly things happen. It's not, okay. First of all, I disagree when you say the fetus being aborted is just as equal value of a life as a full-grown or a child outside the room or a human being. Like, I think.
You said room again. It's womb.
Listen, I disagree. I think aborting a child that is
So does
not
that
viable outside the room has as
It's called a womb.
It's called a womb. We don't walk outside and then call it abortion. And when I walk inside a house, I don't call it entering someone's... Never mind.
Listen, guys. Look,
It's
when it's
vital
not
that you
viable
call it womb.
outside-
It's vital that you call it a womb.
it's
Not a
not,
room.
if it can't live outside, I don't think it's the same value as someone that can. All right, someone that's more developed. So
You can
I
think
think
that.
ugly things happen in life, and sometimes they have to happen. But it's better than the outcome of you guys living in misery because the woman can't go to education, can't go to school, and they have kids. They can't get a better life. It screws up their career. It screws up everything, and now they're gonna live in poverty, and the child and the mother will be miserable. Or they give up to adoption, and they'll probably never be adopted. Those are the statistics. Look them up. They probably never be adopted.
So what you're saying is because
You want that child to have a happy family? You want that child to have a happy life?
okay,
Or do you want them to live without parents?
how about you bring them for adoption and try
That's
to
what I
find
just
them a
said.
home?
They won't
Well,
have
yeah.
parents.
How do you know that?
Statistically,
finding-
most children never get adopted.
That's not true.
Let's assume that it is true. Let's assume that a majority of
Yeah,
kids
let's
don't
assume
get
it
adopted. And we also know that a majority of criminals come from single parent households. So how much worse is it that a child doesn't have parents? I mean, it's horrible, and they're the most likely.
So let's add to the problem. You want to put more poverty kids in misery?
Or you could just kill them, right? I guess that solves that problem.
But if you don't want single household kids to become criminals, you could just walk up to them and stab them.
That's true.
It would definitely decrease the amount of.
But
That's
what
that's
we were
a
saying,
lot different
you're saying
than
right.
killing something that isn't viable
Willis,
outside the
I want to
mother.
make sure I'm getting your argument right. You're saying that let's say
Willis.
I said Willis. Let's say that you are
Good.
a 20-year-old. You're in university. You had, you made a mistake. You had sex with a man. You became pregnant. You're saying that. Let's just say, right, your university, obviously, it's going to be hard to afford to have this child, right? Because you're trying to be educated. You might have a part-time job, and now you have a child. It's going to be
really
pretty hard.
hard.
And I do agree. It is going to be hard for you. First of all, try to get that man involved in your life. Try to get him to have some responsibility to stick around. If he can't, well, that is horrible, but you shouldn't have had sex with a guy who
Lots
can't
of
do
men
that.
And find a
abandon.
real man.
I know. It's a mistake, okay? Lots of kids make mistakes at a young age. We shouldn't be punished.
They do.
Lots of men flee the homes.
You need to have responsibility for your actions.
This is...
If there's an issue, Okay, well, let's just say
You call it responsibility.
once again,
it's not a responsibility. It's a right.
You're saying just because life is hard
There's nothing to
and
do with
life
responsibility.
sucks, you should be able to kill people just because life sucks and it's hard and it's difficult for you right now. First of all, life is not going to always be hard for you.
What about
and
rape?
What if you raise that kid? I believe that you are someone who has... You seem like a really nice person, Willis. You seem like you're very emotional. You seem like you probably love that child. Are you saying that you would not raise that child, showing them love and compassion and showing them, although it's hard, you can make it through?
Some people are in such a bad place in their life and mental state where they can't show them the love and compassion they need to develop properly.
If you don't think that you can raise that child with the right amount of love and compassion, let someone else raise
Children, it may not always be an option. What if that's not another option?
Why would that not be an option?
Because sometimes you can't find
Adoption's
someone
an
to take
option.
it. What
That's
if
true.
no one takes it?
I mean, I've seen kids in awful foster homes. Here's the main thing, though.
Like the thing, kids that are raised by parents that are oppressed have a more likely chance of growing up depressed. That is a true statistic.
And of course, you know, they're likely to become criminals and they're likely to have a rough time of it. But
Yes. So do you want that for them?
I
Or would
don't
you
want it.
rather?
But here's the thing:
Or would you rather not have to experience that?
I've had a very rough life. I've had a really, really tough time. But I think life's pretty good now. I think it's okay. I think people can get through it.
That may not have turned out for you.
It may not have, but it did.
And
So,
I'm pretty sure he
I'm-
enjoys that a lot more than being dead.
Yeah, considerably. I mean, I suppose if I did, I wouldn't have a say.
Okay,
but-
let's switch. Like, what about rape?
All right.
What about other rape women? Listen, are you for rape? I don't think so.
Well, how was I
Most
supposed to have
people are.
sex with
I don't
a
know.
woman?
You guys are pretty mean. You guys are like, you guys are trying to impose your will onto me. All right, you're insulting my sweet tea. You're insulting my Meemaw, and you basically Nazis.
Okay, so you're talking about rape now, right? So before we have this discussion,
teenagers. You did mention teenagers earlier. I want to say that teenagers getting pregnant, bad parenting, bad parents, bad.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. This is bad parenting.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
That's
a result,
ridiculous.
This is a result of a liberal community that shows kids that they do not have responsibility
Not
and that
always.
they're not responsible for
You're
their actions.
generalizing.
Yeah, but
You are generalizing.
me?
Yes.
Generalizing what?
You're generalizing all the teenage and parents into one group. Sometimes kids
We're not
make
saying
mistakes,
every
and it
single
doesn't
parent in the
matter.
entire world. We're saying,
Yeah,
as
sometimes
a
kids do it
consensus,
independently.
society on
Sir,
marriage and sex
listen,
has changed.
That's your opinion.
It's not my opinion.
That's your opinion.
He already said that the rise in sex outside of marriage has increased since 60 years
dramatically.
ago.
Yeah, because we have rights and freedoms now.
We have always had those rights and freedoms. You
Women
think it was in the
didn't
law?
always
Do
have
not
those
have
rights.
sex.
Woman, yes, you weren't allowed. You had been disowned back then. The punishments were severe. Women
Disowned
didn't have
is
rights.
different than not having the right to have sex. Those are two different things.
You weren't.
And why is that a bad thing to be disowned for having sex outside of marriage?
Well, I think
That's
it's
pretty
wrong.
severe.
I do think that's wrong. But
That is wrong.
But
To be,
you know,
to be
Disowned
shown.
for having sex outside of marriage.
Oh, sorry. I think when I was thinking of disowned, I was thinking just in general. In general, as in people looked at you differently.
Yeah, well, that's pretty bad too. But I'm not saying that.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
I think so. Disowned is when they kick you out of your home. Look, back then, if
Yeah,
a
you should
woman
be kicked
had
out of your
sex
home.
outside of marriage, they would have been kicked out. They would have had to turn to prostitution to survive because they weren't even allowed to get a job back then. That's how bad it was.
well, they were allowed to get jobs. I mean, you know.
Yeah, as a prostitute.
Yeah. So you mentioned rape now. So I want to make sure we're on the same page here. Before we have this discussion about rape, you're saying that maybe there is an argument for rape, right? Are you saying that all the other abortions that aren't rape are bad, but maybe just rape is
No,
something that's
but
okay?
I'm applying this
Or is it just
all
an excuse
abortions-
that you're making?
No, I'm applying this logic. Okay.
What
if
about
it's okay, if it's okay to do it under rape, then it's probably okay for the rest. It is okay for the rest of them.
Okay, so if you're saying that
Your
it's
argument. I'm
it's
trying
bad,
to sway you
it's bad
slowly.
to have abortion.
Just
it's
like
bad to have
we're trying to
abortion.
find common ground.
Okay.
That's how you do it.
So you're saying it's
So
okay
during
to...
no, let me finish. Stop talking over me, you
Go
Nazi.
ahead.
Listen to me. All right, we in an argument you try to find common ground,
Mm-hmm.
and then you build up off of that. So I'm trying to find common ground right now.
Okay.
Is it okay under the conditions of a raped woman?
I will get to that, but before I do, I want to ask you: are you saying that all other abortions are okay, but maybe the rape ones are? Or sorry, all other abortions are wrong, but maybe rape is okay? Or are you also saying that all other abortions are okay, but also rape is also okay for an abortion? Or are you just making an excuse?
They're
Are you
all
just
okay.
saying they're all okay? Okay, so now we're on the same page. So let's talk about rape. something you need to know. Okay, fewer than 1% of all abortions are because there was rape or incest involved in the pregnancy.
That's because...
So we're talking about fewer than 1% of them.
That's because they get pressured out of doing it.
Pressured out of doing an abortion because of a rape?
Yeah, they get pressured out of doing an abortion because of stupid conservatives like you that force their worldview on them.
Well,
I mean, I will say the majority of women who become pregnant through rape choose to have their child. But the thing is, that when we're talking about rape now, there's something I have to say. We are both on the same page. Rape is evil. I hate it. I despise it. It's obviously against what I believe as a Christian,
how come
but it's
you're
what I
not
believe
for
as a human
abortions?
being. So let me explain. So we both know that rape is evil. Whoever did that deserves to be buried in the prison with the rest of them. Now, we both know it's evil. We also know that murder is evil. That's an evil act. So you're saying to counteract this act of evil, we need to commit another act of evil, and that somehow makes it okay. I'm sorry, but two wrongs do not make a right. Just because you were raped, which is horrible, and that's horrible to live with.
But there's no responsibility factor.
I cannot imagine having to bear a child that where the scar that you went through. But that does not make it okay now to murder somebody just because a horrible thing happened to you.
You're saying about it was responsibility earlier. They need to take responsibility for their actions. There's no responsibility in that case. They got raped.
Responsibility is not the only factor, though. Responsibility is one of the factors. Another factor is that it's a human life, and if you take it, you're murdering another human.
I do want to say that the value of human life is a binary thing, right? You can't simply say that a human life has value and then say that it doesn't have value, or that it only has value sometimes.
Okay, this is... Okay, listen.
It's
What
a
about...
binary choice.
Let him finish, yeah.
It's a binary choice. It's either it has value or it's not. And either murder, which is the termination of a human life, is wrong or it isn't. These are binary choices. I mean, occasionally you'll have someone that are trying to kill you and then it's self-defense, but most of the time it's not self-defense. I mean, I suppose you could make the self-defense argument if the child is threatening to...
Yeah, and someone that isn't viable, something that can't live off, isn't viable outside of the mother, I don't think has as much value as someone that is. But okay, let's move on from that. You guys can decide for yourselves. Okay, all you people listening out there. Okay, I mean, obviously I'm right. All right, we're already at like what 52:45. Okay, 52 minutes. Listen. What about this scenario? Okay, listen, boys. What about this scenario?
I'm not a boy, by the way.
If you go into
I'm
a fertility, let's just say you're someone that walks.
What are you,
into...
Barack Obama?
Okay. Here's a scenario. You walk into a fertility clinic. When the fire alarm goes off, before you escape, you have the option to save either a 5-year-old child who is pleading for their life,
this one.
or a container of 1,000 viable human embryos. Which one do you pick? Could you really justify picking the 1,000 human embryos or the 5-year-old child pleading for his life?
First of all, I want to say this is a horrible situation. I don't know how you got yourself into this one.
Look. I mean, your question was, could you say...
Could you say that again, except word it better?
Well, no, I did catch that. So, I would say, neither. Fuck them. They're children.
Well,
just walk away.
Interesting.
The world will be so much better off.
Okay, we got to finish this. Okay, we got to finish this.
Okay. Well, no. What I want to say is, are you saying that these embryos would survive if I grab them, or are you saying they have the potential of living? Or is it like, if I grab these, I know for a fact that they will survive?
This case of 1,000 human embryos, 100% for sure, will survive and grow on to be fully fledged humans if you save them. But the 5-year-old will die.
The 5-year-old will die if I grab them.
If you grab the embryos. If
Okay.
you choose to grab the child, the embryos will die.
Okay.
One choice.
All right. I choose the embryos.
So you can let that 5-year-old die in the fire.
This is only because of this made-up scenario that you made are saying it 100% we know for a fact that it'll survive.
Okay, so
and
if you saw
100%
the fire-
fact that we know that 5-year-old child will die.
Okay, let's just say you're amazing at knowing emergency situations and you're in this fertility clinic and you see the fires go off and you know, but you can get to this case of embryos in time and get out the window before it goes, or get to the 5-year-old in time and get out the window.
The thing is,
So if you,
as human
let's just say,
beings,
if you don't know, would you still do it?
if I did know, then no, I would choose the child. But you're saying that I know for a fact that the child will die, and I know for a fact that those embryos will live. If I don't know that,
You're
I'm
a
going to
mon- this is
obviously
reason-
choose... If I don't know that, if I just see embryos and a child, I will always choose a child, obviously.
This is the reason you're a monster. You're a monster. Those things aren't even hardly living. They just started, and they're just going 5 years. This is why the left. You're a monster. I hate
That's why
you.
the left, you mean the right?
No, this is why the left has such a problem with you guys. You're all monsters.
Well,
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
very logically consistent. It sucks.
I mean, he is a monster, but it's-
Okay.
But for me, if I had the choice between, I mean, here's the thing.
You
I mean,
say
you're not.
F them.
Yeah, I think I'll just leave it at that one.
Okay, look, what about this?
Or not,
Judith
leave it that in.
Jarvis Thompson states that even if a fetus is a person and has a right. Judith Jarvis
Sorry,
Thompson.
I don't
Apparently
care.
she had like she was the first one that popularized this kind of stuff. States that even if the fetus is a person and it has the right to life, abortion is morally permissible because a woman has the right to control her own body. Okay, and its life support functions. We've already covered this. Thompson variant of the argument draws an analogy between forcing a woman to continue unwanted pregnancy and forcing a person to allow his body to be used to maintain homeostasis as a dialysis machine is used. For another person suffering from kidney failure, it is argued that just as permissible to unplug and therefore cause the death of the person who's using one's kidneys. Basically saying if someone was attached to another person, that person's keeping them alive with their kidneys. It's the same thing. Did you understand any of that?
No, I'm retarded.
Okay.
Well,
Look,
let's assume these two people are held together.
you know what a dialysis machine is? Okay. All right.
Let's
Life
assume
support. Okay. So someone is using your life support to survive because they're in stasis.
Someone is using
There's
my
a
life
coma.
support. So
They're using your organs, your kidneys to survive off of. So
they're separate from me and they're in them.
Let's just
like they
just, like,
attach you,
pumps.
they attach
Okay.
you to them,
Okay.
and
Like a
so they're
conjoined
living
twin.
off of your kidneys.
Yeah.
So unplugging that person would be moral because they're in a coma, they're in stasis, they're to repeat it. That would be permissible to unplug and therefore cause the death of the person who is using one's kidneys. So it is permissible to abort the fetus who is similarly has no right to one's body life support functions against one's will.
I mean, you do throw up an interesting argument there, but the thing is, this situation is unique in that the person that okay, so we're dealing with like Bob and Bob 2, and Bob 2 is the one that is using Bob 1's kidneys to survive, and he's in a coma. In this situation, Bob 1 can't get up, he can't go to work, he can't do anything.
Neither can a baby.
You'd be condemning Bob 1 to a life that where he'd be constantly in bed, like he would not be able to do anything, like at all.
Mm.
Like he'd be stuck there for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with a baby, it's going to come out or it's going to die. One of those two things are going to happen, or both, which does happen sometimes. But with this, you're stuck there. Like you're actually stuck there.
No, I don't think the argument is that. I think so somehow let's say
through the magic
through
of
magic,
science.
through
Yep.
the magic, you could walk around somehow. I don't know how that would work. Maybe the blood is going through a portal into the other guy's back. The argument is not about that. The argument is you should not be allowed to use someone else's organs for life support against that person's will. He should be allowed to disconnect them and let the other guy die.
Well, I think you do not have, in my opinion, the obligation to keep another man alive in certain situations. Like, for example, if there was a fire and someone was in the house, you do not have the obligation to jump inside and rescue it.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have the obligation.
You should.
If,
Okay,
Well,
you know what? Never mind. You guys are Nazis.
but
Well, the thing is, lots of these arguments on abortion, they'll also say things like, what if the child doesn't have a brain yet? Or they're like, oh, I'm okay with it until the child has a running heartbeat. What about a human that doesn't have their own heart? What if there's someone that has the machine that is running their heartbeat? Should we just kill them? What about people that are brain dead? People say we should kill them before they have a functioning brain. If people are brain dead, can we just unplug them? Can we just stab them and kill them?
If they're
I mean, I
if
do
they're
that
going
anyway.
to die anyway,
Let's legalize it because I do
or
that
if they
anyway.
have no chance of coming out of a coma, then I think it's fine.
If you think that, that's okay. But the thing is, these children are not like that. Because a few months from now, they will be alive. So if you know for a fact that there's a man who is brain dead or living off a fake heart, and you know that in a few months he will be back to fully functioning, should you kill him?
He's not just beginning he's not just a seed growing in a mother's womb.
Okay, but if it's a guy without a heart, and it's a child without a heart, it's still human life without a heart, and it's dependent on something else to run its heartbeat.
I don't think so.
If you know in a few months that it'll die.
Okay, I don't think this.
But,
I don't think. Okay, listen.
Look, let me ask you. Wait. Let me ask you this question. Right, you're asking us a bunch of hypotheticals, so let me ask you this question. If you had a train track and there was 2 train tracks and there was a train coming and there was a switch in the middle and you get to decide, where the train goes, would you pick letting the train go over a black man or a gay man or a Muslim? You have a choice. You can pull that switch. Who dies?
Obviously.
Doesn't matter at that point.
Obviously.
It does matter. You're a left winger. You have to pick one of them.
No, I don't have to. If there's 3 people on there, all human life is equal.
Interesting that you would say that.
Are you going to pull it? Are you going to pull the lever?
Wait, what does the lever do again?
Kills one of those 3.
Yeah.
Okay, the 3 is a Muslim.
There's a Muslim, a gay person, and a black person.
Does it matter? Does it matter which one of them? Look, it matters. I would want them. That's a horrible situation. Okay, you guys are making up a situation that isn't realistic. It would never happen in the real world. Okay, but let's just say it did happen.
I'll humor you,
Nazis.
Like your thousands of embryos and this child locked in the room. I don't have to answer that
because you're a Nazi. Listen to me. It doesn't matter if you pull the switch or not, because one of them is going to die. And why is a Muslim more valuable than a black man, more valuable than the gay man?
Well, what if there was a man that was both black, Muslim, and
if
gay?
One of those people on the track...
contradicting his own belief, then.
Listen, if one of the people on the track is an embryo, I would let that one get run over.
But what if it was a black, gay, Muslim embryo?
Awkward.
What? You guys are shifting...
This
is not funny, guys. This is not funny. You guys are making jokes about people dying.
But you're okay with people dying,
Hitler.
Too. Actually, you know what? You keep calling me a Nazi, so all I have to say is Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
What?
It's a Hebrew prayer. I'm Jewish.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm not a Nazi.
I don't care. I'm anti-Semitic. Anyway. Okay. So what if there was an embryo? If there's an embryo on the train track, I would let the train run over that. That's different. It's not viable outside of the mother. Okay, that's completely different. I think it has less value. Once again, it has less value. And that's completely different than 3 grown men.
Well, the question is, again, either life has value or it doesn't. It's a binary choice.
What would you guys choose if it was an embryo and 3 men?
Well, if it's outside of the
embryo,
room, it's just
right?
a squishy embryo on the floor. Well, no, it cannot.
Well, let's just say it's in a vial and it won't survive if you save it.
I never understand these things because why don't you just put yourself on the train track?
Bang, bang.
I mean, it's very simple. I know leftists wouldn't think of that, but, this is...
No, it's a thought experiment. You have to follow the rules within the thought experiment.
So now they're rules. When were there rules?
I don't have to answer that because you guys are Nazis. Okay, continuing. Okay, guys, continuing. Listen. Can I get a puffer?
Wow, you're getting anxious.
Okay,
I mean,
look, you guys are making
I love
no,
you.
Shut up. You guys are so mean to me. Okay, let's continue. Critics, others are... Alright, here's a different one. Alternative scenarios have been put forth as more accurate and realistic representations
Representations?
of the moral issues present to abortion. John Noonan.
His name is Noonan?
That's a stupid name.
See, that's an instance where the mom should have aborted it.
Okay. Proposes the scenario of a family who was found to be liable for frostbite.
Don't try that again. From the top.
Okay. Alternative scenarios have been put forth as more accurate and realistic representations of the moral issues present in abortion. John Noonan proposes the scenario of a family who was found to be liable for frostbite finger loss suffered by a dinner guest whom they refused to allow to stay overnight. Although it was very cold outside and the guest showed signs of being sick, it is argued that just as it would not be permissible to refuse temporary accommodation for the guest to protect him from physical harm, it would not be permissible to refuse temporary accommodation of a fetus?
I mean, that's actually a good legal argument. Because the idea is property rights versus the right to life. Mm-hmm. I mean, the idea is property rights, right? You own your body, therefore you get to determine what happens to it. You own the house, therefore you can kick whoever you want out. Mm-hmm. It's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually an interesting point to bring up.
But the thing is, once again, this hypothetical is the fact that this embryo is outside of the woman, which is never the case. But the thing is, if it comes to right to own your own property, the thing is, we're acting like this embryo is a piece of property. It's not. It's a human life. It's not property.
Well, even if we're talking about the property rights issue, I do think that human life has value.
Okay,
right?
what about... Wait.
Let him finish. Listen.
So
Fine.
human life has value. So my entire system is based around that idea. So if you're going to throw someone out in the cold and he's going to die, and you know that, that's as good as murder.
You're a contradictive bigot, James. Listen to me.
I'm also homophobic.
But he's
Listen.
gay.
Okay, listen to this. I thought you were a voluntarist. Don't you believe in, like, what was it? Not infringing on people's negative rights or something? Like, if you force someone not to get an abortion, isn't that infringing on their right?
We also demonize murder as well. So
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
got you there.
This is...
it's the non-aggression principle. It means that you're allowed to
Do
defend
whatever you want, unless it's killing somebody.
defend the right to
You guys are being very threatening right now. That's all I'm saying.
How are we
Very
being
threatening.
I didn't think so. We have a
You-
rational discussion.
No.
I didn't even mention the fact that 1 million babies are aborted.
You told
a
me
year.
my opinions don't matter in a roundabout way, paraphrasing. All right, you insulted
I
my
never
Mima.
said that.
You insulted my sweet tea for crying out loud.
I don't think so.
was-
You guys, you said that you would rather save. You said you would rather save 1,000 embryos than a 5-year-old child. That is not okay.
I said just screw them. So
What? You guys are Nazis.
I don't
Nazis.
think so. I think
Yes,
we've
you
been
are.
very rational this whole
You're
time.
not. No.
You know what? I think you should
Okay,
calm down a
no,
little bit.
That's not
We're
okay.
trying to have a
Listen,
discussion
Get those
here.
hatred off my campus. Get this hatred off.
Willis, I think you need to calm
No,
down.
you gotta-
Calm down,
No,
Willis.
Take
Whoa!
this.
Hey, I said calm down. Okay, I've had enough. You need to get out of my house now. Get out of my house. Get this
I hate him.
No, get out of here. No.
You a Nazi.
No.
It's not.
No.
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 and I'm just here, just drinking my drink.
Wow, that was something else. Well, hey William, I think you can come back now. I had to get what was that? Your sister's cousin's uncle's niece?
I thought it was his cousin-in-law's sister's
Oh.
cousin's niece.
What was that? So how did the meeting with Willis go, by the way? Did it
Uh,
go good?
It was great.
He had a very
I thought
punchable
so.
face.
What? Hey. Oh,
Z had a very punchable face.
look. He can get a little bit excited sometimes. So-
Oh, Z.
No, I don't know anymore. He keeps switching. Anyway, he says he's gender fluid, something like that. Anyway. Oh wow! There's some crazy spikes over the
That was
podcast set. How did that happen?
I'm really curious
Don't
about
worry
gender
about it.
fluid. Does that mean your genitalia switches from day to day?
That's a good question. I don't
There
know.
is-
Anyway,
By the way, guys, there's something I want to end this podcast with. A little bit more on the serious note, as hilarious as we are. Yeah, right now in America, there are about 1 million abortions a year. Close to 60 million of babies have been killed since the law was first passed in 1976, I believe.
that's stupid.
60 million children
So can
are now dead. To me, that number is insane. And it's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, it's the silent genocide. I mean, ultimately, the conversation, you can debunk the liberal argument for abortion with just, a couple of scientific facts. First is that it reproduces, so that makes it it feeds and it reproduces, making it alive. It has its own unique DNA set. Like it has 46 I did mention the diploid and the haploid cells, and they come together to make 46 unique DNA set. Its own 46 part
Set
DNA
chromosomes,
set.
yeah.
Yeah, chromosomes. And that makes it its own unique DNA. So then we have a human, because that's what it is genetically, that is living, because it's not dead. And then it comes down to the question really becomes, when is it a person? And that just shifts the question away to, is it wrong to kill humans? To
It's
when is a
stupid.
human a person?
It's just stupid.
And that's just
It's immoral. And sorry, Canada. Unfortunately, your tax dollars are going towards that.
There's actually no laws
Government-funded.
regarding abortion in Canada.
I wouldn't.
Sorry, America. You have government-funded abortions. You need to learn to stop Planned Parenthood. They are killing hundreds of thousands of babies.
I really believe that one day we'll look back on abortion the same way that we look back on slavery now, with absolute disgust and saying,
what were we doing?
"What did we do?"
That was horrible.
Guys, here's the thing. I think that people that are liberals, they do this thing like a group think. What do you call it, James? Identity politics? I don't know what it is.
well,
but basically, they think...
What,
Sorry. They make it into a religion. And they think, like, if you want to be a liberal, that's okay, obviously. We invite all opinions. But when it comes to something like abortion, obviously we assume about your opinion as well with that. But sometimes when people go to the left and the right, but it's both. It's the same for the both. They tend to believe everything about that specific party or group, everything, without really looking in for it for themselves or thinking for themselves or using logic or any of that stuff. And I encourage you to really look into this kind of stuff because this is something, especially abortion, if nothing else, especially abortion, because I think that's one of the most serious problems, the serious, most immoral acts that are out there, and people that it's widespread believed. It's like almost like just an absolute religious about it. If the left says it's okay, then it's okay, and if the left says it's science, then it's science. I just think that's so disgusting.
Well, truth does not have a party. Truth is truth. The left and right really shouldn't exist. There's only one party, and that's, well, the truth. That's the only team you should be on. That's the only thing that you should back. Not your party, not your title, not your label. It should be the truth, and only the truth.
And I also want to make a point. As a Christian, I think this whole time I never made a Christian argument. I think this whole time I've been trying to be pretty rational in my thoughts. So for you Christians or other religious people out there, you do know that we could also make that argument. I just think if you're having a political discussion, not everyone will want it because they'll automatically say you're saying that because your religion. It's not an actual argument for the actual people. So there is something I did want to mention. I just want to read this scripture just quickly. Just something that I think has to do with this subject. It's from Psalms 139, verse 13 to 16. It says, For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me, written in your book, before one of them came to be. That pretty much says it right there. And even in Jeremiah it says, Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I anointed you as a prophet to the nations. From where I stand there, that kind of tells me right there that even God loved me and knew that I was different before I was even born. I think it's a pretty powerful stance for the Christians on abortion as well, because there are some Christians that are pro-choice, and I think it's. Yeah. I mean, there are also quote unquote Christians that are Marxists, which is another discussion. It doesn't align with scriptures.
I think that
from what I can see.
I think that God cries for every individual baby that's been aborted.
Definitely. All right, so that pretty much does it for us here. What we want to do is we want to leave a moment of silence for the children and for the babies that their lives have been terminated because of abortion, the millions of babies.
Yeah, there's going to be no news segment this time, guys. There's going to be no outro music. We just thought it would be a little bit nicer this time, a little bit more serious and respectful if we just had some silence to end this episode.